Have you ever submitted anything to replacements.com to have identified? I did, and I was pretty surprised with the results I got back. I want to show you guys that piece and also a few other kind of what I would consider more scarce and, dare I say, rare items. And I'd love to hear your guys' input on all of it. Hey guys, my name's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. I am a small reseller, new YouTube tuber person, new to YouTube. And today I want to show you a plate that I had sent to replacements.com to have identified. And I was pretty surprised with the result I got back. All right, guys, so I'm curious if any of you out there will have any idea on this one. So I'm not sure if this is as old as it actually appears to me. I mean, obvious damage is what it would be called on there, the crazing and the staining that you can see. But then you can see on the back side also very heavy crazing and staining, which, you know, indicates to me that it would have some age. There's no markings on it. You know, I imagine it's got some age to it. But I'm not gonna lie, I am not an expert in Japanese or even, you know, Chinese pottery, porcelain, that kind of stuff. Not an expert, not on identifying stuff like this or necessarily attaching a time period to it with confidence anyway. I think it was a transfer print. Yeah, it's a transfer print. May have been, you know, hand painted within the lines of it, but it looks like it's a transfer print to me. I mean, this is all just way too straight and uniform for it to not be. I mean, those would be some kind of obvious signs. Not that people can't do, you know, some amazing hand-painted work, but I mean, that looks like transfer print to me. But, you know, they've actually been doing transfer print onto porcelain for a very long time, so that doesn't mean it's new or even vintage, but it very well could be. But anyways, I sent a series of photos of it, front, back, everything, to replacements.com. And if you don't know, replacements.com has on their website kind of a helpful free little tool that, you know, if you're stuck really trying to find the pattern of something, whatever it is, whether it's, you know, porcelain or china or whatever, but also glassware, pattern on EAPG, that kind of stuff. That's a good resource and it's free. You just send them in photos of it and then they'll return to you within a few days, usually, I think, and give you an answer on what they at least believe it to be. I'm sure part of the reason they offer that service is they hope that, you know, at least in some situations, if it seems right, they'd be able to buy that piece off of the individual that they somewhat, not really appraise it for. I don't think they give you values on it, but, you know, helping you identify it's a good part of the journey of being able to put a value on something. So they certainly do at least a partial, in my opinion, appraisal of it. So if you go to their website, you'll find on there, and I'll try to put a couple pictures in here, but you'll find in there where you can submit photos. And I thought I'd let you guys know about that. In my case, however, it was a little disappointing. I want to say it was a few days later, and this was maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago that I did this. I sent this in to them, but I got a reply back within a few days and it was inconclusive. They were unable to identify it. They didn't even attempt to give me any answer. It literally just said they were unable to identify it. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a good weighted ceramic plate. So it's not that thin Japanese porcelain. But I don't know. I haven't identified that one yet. Then there's another plate, while we're talking about plates, that I thought I'd show you. Let me unravel this. So this is a 1902 souvenir plate. It was the launching of Meteor yacht for German Emperor. Meteor, I believe, is the name that they gave the yacht, built for him, which would have been, oh God, I just said it, the German Emperor. Lordy. But anyways, it's kind of interesting, little story on it if you go and look up this date and everything in history. So basically, the German Emperor had built himself yet another yacht, and I think he was somewhat well known for sort of extravagant things like that. And of course, in 1902, you're talking about pre-World War I and those sorts of conflicts. But Syracuse, China. I walked into a local thrift store, and it's one that, I'll be honest, I'll still go into it, but I generally don't make a special trip because they're one of those small chain thrift stores that are also dealers, vintage and antique dealers and stuff. And so they'll sort out their merchandise, and they have a few stores kind of throughout the metro. And so certain stores, you know, gets different types of products. They'll send more jewelry items to one store, more furniture to one store, you know, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, but I still go in every once in a while just to take a look around, check it out, the one near me anyway. And this was sitting on the shelf like it was nothing. And, you know, just the look of it, you know, and of course I kind of recognize the names and everything on there. But, I mean, obviously the date was right on it. That was pretty obvious. But the plate was in impeccable condition. There's no chips. There's no cracks. There's really, I don't think even glazing. I don't think even crazing on it. There's no fade to the design. So I have seen some of these sell. Oh, and it's a 9 3/4 inch diameter. I have seen some of these sell, and typically on auction, and they're usually in more of a high-end auction. I haven't found many. When I say I've seen a few, I mean like a couple. But they usually bring anywhere between $500 and $700. And, you know, I don't know in today's market, because these auctions were a little bit older, so I don't know that this would still carry that same sort of value or not, especially in today's economy and all those kinds of things. I'd be extremely nervous to put it on auction on eBay. Currently, that's not even really an option in my mind. But, you know, somebody who is into history and German Empire, you know, this would be a really cool item to have, especially in the conditions it's in. You really can't ask for better condition on it. It's very interesting. And it was an interesting kind of search, the information coming up on it and everything. And basically they had come out over here and had this formal luncheon, dinner kind of thing with the high-end politicians and president and stuff here. And they christened the boat out in the harbor, I guess it's called. I don't know. I'm a Midwest girl. Don't ask me those questions. So, but I mean, just the design of it. How cool. How absolutely cool. Turn of the century. Just one of those finds that you just see it and you just know there's something about it. And, you know, surprisingly, especially in this thrift store, I want to say it was $1 or $2. But typically souvenir plates are not good resale items. I don't really recommend picking up souvenir plates, but there are exceptions to the rule, as in any case. So it can be a hit or miss. It's definitely a pay to play to learn kind of thing. But there are ones out there that are still worth enough in value to make that investment in them because they're historical, they're irreplaceable, they're extremely scarce. I can't imagine there's too many of these out there. I have a hard time finding any at all, so much less sold ones. So there are exceptions to the rule, and I kind of think this is one of them. Now this plate, I have no idea what the value on it would be. No idea. You know, there's some Oriental Asian pieces that are extremely valuable. Is this one? I don't know. I don't know. Would it still be with what people refer to as damage on it? I don't know. See, for me, if I was to keep this, if this was my decor style, I would like that personally. You know, you're not planning on using it and everything, but I don't know. For me, for it to be still perfectly like cream or white color and everything and not show that age kind of defeats the purpose of it, because I feel like things like this can be reproduced today easily. I have a feeling this is an older piece. How old? I don't know. So there's like a fire and pin mark. It's got I think 3 all around. So given the foot on here, I don't think it is handmade. I think this curvature on it is maybe mold. Or might have been hand molded that way. I don't know. I don't know. But still a really cool plate. I honestly cannot remember where I got this one. I feel like it was in another thrift store, you know, for $1 or $2, same kind of situation. So, but I thought I'd share those with you guys. I think they're really awesome. And I'm like, that's because I love history and stuff. Like, this doesn't have any personal pull to me, like a personal story, but I just love the history of it. And I do love that this one's still in immaculate condition. Okay, so I had just a couple more things I was gonna show you guys that are just, well, frankly, they're just cool. The first one is this guy. Now, I know he's looking a little rough, but the fact of the matter is these are hard to find. And they can be found in better condition. I have seen them in better condition. You know, his condition certainly affects his value, but nonetheless, he's a somewhat local, vintage, you know, Kewpie advertisement tray. Kewpie baseball team. But DeCourcy's ice cream. I'll have to put on the screen if I can find where that's located or where it was located. Here's the back of him. Now, I won this guy in an auction, and I think I did spend, you know, a good maybe $20 on him, anticipating that I should be able to get, hopefully anyway, more out of him than that, despite his condition. So, I don't know, we'll see. But I thought I'd show you guys that. I haven't had the guts to list him yet, because I'm just not sure where to list him. He's kind of one item that I'd almost prefer him to go on auction, because I just don't, I'd like for buyers to make up their mind on how much that condition affects their desire to own this piece, versus me coming up with some number and having to sit on it and that kind of thing. But then again, I'm extremely hesitant to put it on auction because, as I've said before, if you don't have a following that's driving people in to check on what auctions you got going and stuff like that, it's very hard to run an auction on eBay and get successful numbers. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. If anybody has any suggestions or anything, I'm open to it. Okay, so then this piece, let's see if I can get it out of its little wrapper here. There we go. All right, so this piece here is Bartlett Spring Mineral Water Grand Prize St. Louis Exposition. So this is one of I believe a variety of these tin metal trays with this awesome lithograph on it. I mean, wow. That is neat. And while I have seen some out there in even better condition than this, I'm not mad at it. Like it's pretty darn good. I mean, this thing's over 100 years old. It's almost 120 years old. We need to put that in perspective, I think. My very first video I did was called Mystery Death Piles, and in it I featured this bottle here. And I gotta tell you, the reason I kind of chose this was, and why I'm kind of hung up on this bottle, is because it's hand painted and it has on here this, you know, gold embossed labeling, and all these are these little medallions that represent the like coin gold, or not coin gold, but coin medallion prizes that were given out at the World's Fair, the Louisiana Exposition. So, or I'm sorry, St. Louis Exposition. Right before I found that bottle in an antique store, I had found this at a thrift store. And it was, again, just sitting on the shelf. I think it was that same store that I found the German plate in. And it was just sitting on the shelf like it was nothing. And I think I got it for a dollar or two. I mean, to me, neither of these items should be difficult to identify as old or vintage or antique, for that matter, items. And then their condition should speak for itself. But it is what it is. I'm not mad about it. So I guess I'm a little torn. Like, do I try to sell these together? I don't know. I've seen different varieties of this, like I said. They're all from that same time period and everything, but, you know, they vary in condition. Typically, they're not in great condition. I saw a listing on eBay, an active listing, where the lithograph, you can tell it's not even a picture of the tin. It's a picture of the art from the tin, but it's not the metal tin itself. And that's the only photo that they have on the listing. And doesn't that always make you a little weary? You know, that's what I meant before in another video too, talking about photos and stuff. I like my photos to look like I took them, not like they're AI doctored, not like they're edited, anything like that, because I sell vintage and antique items. It's important to me that people who are looking at my items know that what they're looking at is in fact the item. So I try to keep my photos as professional and nice and as perfect as possible, but I don't mind a few little flaws here and there. You know, my cropping may not be centered perfectly or things like that. Maybe it's got a little too much shadow behind it or something. And a lot of times I leave that in because while if I was a professional photographer, that wouldn't be ideal for product photography, no. But again, I'm selling vintage and antique items, and I want people to know that this is a photo, an actual photo of that item, if that makes sense. So anyways, I have seen these types of trays anywhere from okay condition, you know, they sell for, I don't know, maybe around $75, give or take. And then in excellent condition, I've seen them go for up to a couple hundred. I think you're pulling in on a couple different, or a few at least, different collector appeals to it. Everything from the St. Louis Exposition or World's Fair collectors, people who collect memorabilia from this time period. You know, believe it or not, I bet you there's people out there that collect spring water memorabilia stuff. So I just feel like there's a lot of different angles that this attracts different sorts of collectors from. And, you know, I paid a dollar or two for it. I mean, I love it. I love it. This is one I'm tempted to keep myself, but I guess I can part with it. It's been sitting here in its safety wrap paper for a couple years now. It's another one though that I would love to put on auction and let people determine what the worth is of it for them. And it's another one I'm scared to do that with. Same story over and over again. Okay, guys, I think that's it for right now, anyway. Again, let me know if anybody has any information, suggestions, whatever. I'm open to it. But I wanted to show you guys those pieces and show you that, yeah, it can be difficult to come across those kind of one-offs, but they are out there. So don't ever give up. I would suggest if you see something and your gut just tells you something about it, you should look more into it. A lot of times that inner voice, that gut feeling is right. Not always. Sometimes it's a jerk, but oftentimes it's right. So just go with it. You have to kind of jump in and not be afraid to take those chances in order to learn. And even if it turns out to be a dud, not what you were thinking, whatever, it's still a good learning experience. You still get to feel the weight of the item in your hands. You still get familiar with the glaze that's used or the other materials used. And, there's still always a lot of lessons learned in it. And I don't just mean financially, I mean about pieces in general. So when you do come across those more important, more valuable pieces, you'll certainly know what the non-valuable, important pieces are like. And that will start to separate those things when those two categories for you, when you're out sourcing or picking or whatever. So it's one of those things that it can't be taught in a book. You have to physically hold it, feel it, see it, smell it, whatever. You just can't learn those things from a book. You can memorize marks and basic information, but you can't know what the weight of something is just from a book telling you, if it even says, what the weight is. So, but I just wanted to show you guys that while I don't have a sold personal comp for you yet on them, I still wanted to show you that those pieces are out there and they're worth picking up. They're worth investigating on. And I think most of us out here that sell vintage and antiques, we get into this line of work because we have a undying passion for not just the trends and fashion of different eras, but the history that goes along with it and the story that these pieces tell. And that's why people collect as well. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Hi, buddy. Did I wake you up? Go back to sleep, bud. Okay. Night, night.